Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Friday Cloudy Roundup. You know how it goes. This is where we cover the week in cloud gaming from Stadia to Xbox with their xCloud news, Amazon and their Luna service, GeForce Now bringing the games, and everything else. So without further ado, let's dive in.
What an opening. Brilliant opening. Brilliant opening. So it's another fun-filled week, and it's the slowest week of gaming news.
Yeah, there's nothing going on with gaming news this week. Nothing at all.
Nothing. Everything is just ticking on as normal. Nothing happening. Well, and here's the good news for everybody, and especially Ruben in chat here, is we have to keep this relatively short because we're coming on again at 7:45. And just for everybody, about in 1 hour, 15 minutes time, we're going to be going live with the clock. I'm hoping I'm saying it, media event, and where they're going to be showcasing some games. It is absolutely going to be a load of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more games, and more games.
Indeed. And I was so interested to see how you were going to say that then, because I seen on Twitter earlier somebody commented about something that it sounds a little bit like cats with a shh. And I was like, I can't even comprehend that in my head how I'm going to say it. So thank goodness you've said it. But yeah, obviously they've obviously got the likes of Deep Silver and stuff behind them, so potentially stuff like maybe Saints Row, possibly even an announcement I'm hoping for Chorus, but let's not spoil it too much, eh?
Yeah, but I think there's going to be lots to talk about. Of course, I would say it's probably going to be there. There's going to be something there for cloud gamers anyway, especially Stadia fans, because we know that is coming to Stadia, even though it hasn't been on some of the wee listings. But we do know that it is coming. That is a joke, people. Jokes.
We need to get you a banner so that we can literally click on joke alert across the screen.
Yes, here we go. Well, we'll make that banner now. Joke alert.
And yes, Ruben, if you can fulfill your timekeeping duties, please, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I would just want to say thanks, Cloud Gamer, Maker of Chaos, Zero Games for me, Ruben, for just joining us here. And yes, thank goodness Sammy isn't here because you don't know what mischief he can get up to. So it's going to be a load of fun. I'm just anxious to we're not good with time pressure because it's like, oh no, because we just like talk it away.
I know.
Shall we kick this off then?
Yes, let's kick it off because I think there's probably, I know we generally tend to cover kind of all the bases, but I think there's probably particular bases that we need to make sure that we do cover this week because other areas with the likes of Shadow, PS Now, probably been a little bit quieter this week.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. We'll just say there's only one tiny piece of Shadow news which we can cover off straight away. So I go, woo! Whoa, Shadow news.
Oh God. He's taking the controls.
Just here for us, I just remembered the Shadow news of the week. Shadow are coming off social media. There was an announcement of that. They are going to put out some random posts, but they're going to stop interacting on social media. Like every day, they were putting up their meme sort of stuff or their troll sort of posts. They are not going to be doing that. You can read that two ways. They've said they're just having to concentrate on some things. So you could say that's them just sitting there concentrating, or it's, oh my goodness, panic stations.
Yeah, but it's definitely 50-50, isn't it?
But at least they have came out and said it. But I don't think there's too much to read into it at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think it's far too early to read anything into it, isn't it, realistically?
For people who don't know, about a week or two's time, we're going to be doing a recap of all the cloud services up to this year. And I think that'll be a better point to actually cover the Shadow sort of stuff. Yep,
definitely.
And PS Now is PS Now. There's, you only get your basically once a month update with them. So there's, bar the PlayStation news is everybody is playing Ratchet and Clank.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say Sammy would kill us if we didn't mention it, so we have to mention it.
Yes. There may be some footage of Ratchet and Clank coming on to Cloudy if you want to take a look at that in the coming days.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. Oh, speaking of which, has your copy arrived?
Yes, it has, and it's installed. I don't know when I'm going to get to play it, but it's installed.
Good. Okay, so we're just knocking out the two sort of ones with no news. So
Indeed. And in the fashion of probably going for maybe the shortest news, should we start with the little ones this week?
Hey! I'll still do it even if Sammy's not here.
Excellent. Oh, brilliant. So yes, obviously Lunar news for the week. We seen yesterday they announced that Killer Queen Black has dropped into the Lunar Plus subscription. So obviously that is pretty much now Killer Queen Black available on most cloud gaming services now, because we've already got it on Stadia. It's already in xCloud via Game Pass Ultimate, and now it is dropping into the Lunar Plus subscription as well. Obviously, you and me and Sammy played this a few weeks back with a couple of people in the community as well, and I think we had a bit of fun with it. I think I'd probably say it's definitely a game to be enjoyed with friends, I think, isn't it? I think if you were probably just playing it online, but maybe playing on your own, you might not necessarily get the same experience. Whereas obviously, you know, from our perspective, we were all playing together, and we had an absolute ball with it.
Yeah, Killer Queen Black is, I'm going to say it, get your bingo cards ready right this minute. Killer Queen Black is the perfect game for a subscription in the cloud. It is a game you can just jump in and out from and have a laugh with it. With it being cross-platform multiplayer as well, absolutely brilliant. So you don't have to worry as much about finding a game. If you're going to play it, and you've got a couple of mates, get them on board, because it can be a laugh doing that. And again, we've got a stream of that a couple of weeks ago. We did have a lot of fun on it. And here, I will give a little plug right there. No, I will. This is me giving a rare plug. On Stadia, there's 2 esports teams. So
yes, yeah, there is.
There is a bit of a league there for Killer Queen Black. I was going to say, I don't know what I'm saying, Killer Queen Black. And so you can actually go out there and maybe venture into the esports world there. So all good fun. And it's, again, not a bad game. With the news of this week, Amazon have actually featured with 2 fairly sizable things. I think today there was a new word overview, and we have seen the store listing, we'll call it the game listing on Luna for new word. That had a big blowout there. There was about 10-15 minutes of footage, and then there was a question and answer session after it. And also, I think when we covered Summer Game Fest last night, so you can check our reaction to that, there was an Amazon game there which has completely slipped my mind, and I think it blew people's minds away. I think that was the second best game. Lost Ark, yeah. With Lost Ark, I think people were saying that was probably the second best game shown at the conference last night, after Elden Ring, whatever. Elden Ring. I'm bringing it. I know what the games are, but I just can't get them out half the time.
I know what you mean. It's sometimes you just struggle to get the words out, but it's that's if you can get your brain into gear and remember them all the time. So. Okay. I think does that cover us for Amazon for this week?
I'm just saying, we have said before, Amazon have been sort of maybe struggling a wee bit with the games, but it looks like we're going to have 2 pretty quick in succession, and both you may not think they're AAA 100% knocking it out from the park, but they are both looking extremely competent at this moment in time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think if you look at New World and Lost Ark, those 2 games seem to have there's obviously a lot of expectation on New World, for sure. And then I think Lost Ark coming out there, I think that there was certainly raised a lot of eyebrows. There's a lot of intrigue. So it will be really interesting to see how they land. Obviously, when it comes down to release date, obviously New World beta is next month, towards the end of next month, 26th of July, I believe. And then obviously rolling out in, is it August or is it September? It is August, isn't it? Yeah,
31st of August, I think.
Yeah,
So
there we go.
That's kicking the ball in August.
Yeah, that's probably why I had September in my head.
Probably.
So, excellent. Okie dokie. I've got to make sure I don't click the joke alert button.
Yes. Joke alert.
I keep looking at it thinking, what is that one? And then, yeah.
The big one of the week. Oh dear.
Thought we'd mix it up. Why not? Surely not. We've got to go that direction, haven't we? Obviously, we covered this in a little more depth yesterday, before Summer Game Fest.
Yes.
We managed to keep it to an hour, though.
We did, because we had to keep it to an hour. Maybe they should bring E3 every single week, because that means we keep our shows on. No, we don't want that. That's too much. But we have been keeping our shows on time because of that.
Yep.
Hey, Feb, thanks for joining us. Kumnar, thanks for joining us as well. Forgot to shout out there. But xCloud. Barry, what did xCloud announce yesterday? Or do you want me to go through it?
No, I'm happy to, I ran through it yesterday, so I think it's all still fresh in my mind. So, of course, they announced yesterday that the Series X blades will be coming into use and rolled out within the next few weeks, which, again, it's something here at Cloudy and obviously on the Green Room. We've been massively talking the arrival of the Series X blades coming to xCloud as soon as they possibly could. So we're kind of super hyped and super pleased to see that that's been announced. Then obviously kind of following on from that, we got confirmation that they are working with global TV manufacturers to bring an app to smart TVs at some point. They didn't put a physical timescale on it, but I imagine it'll probably be towards the back end of this year. And then, of course, probably the big shock announcement again, on top of all of that, was, of course, the fact that they are going to have a streaming stick, which is going to be coming again later in the year, which is absolute madness if you think about, the sort of power, the library, the subscription, and of course they confirmed that they are looking at alternative or different packages for Game Pass Ultimate. Could we, as we speculated last night, possibly see something slightly different package-wise to incorporate the stick, controller, and obviously the Game Pass Ultimate subscription so that you can enjoy the game straight in the cloud from the TV?
Yes, there is absolutely a ton to unpack from that Xbox news, and I think we're not going to even get the full picture until Sunday. It is going to be a bit crazy. We also got a game announcement coming to the Cloud today. It might have already been announced, but I'm just going to say it again because there's just so many of these games that come out from Xbox now. Lemnis Gate is coming straight into Game Pass and in the Cloud as well. A day one game, so another game. The games just keep on coming, and with the news yesterday, I think it was quite seismic for the world of cloud gaming. I think we knew it was coming. I was thinking that the Series X stuff may have been pushed back until next year, or really the end of this year and running into early next year, but that doesn't seem to be the case now. It looks like I'm not going to say a week or two away, but I think we're talking weeks rather than quarters away. I think we're talking relatively soon. We're going to be seeing it, and that is going to be a massive step up in quality. I know I've talked about it before, and people laugh at me when I say this. xCloud is running as a cloud service for me up there. If it's not the best, it is the second best as a pure cloud aspect, as in logging into it and the latency and the artifacting and stuff like that. And this is what you're going to find is everybody's experience is going to vary. Just like across all the platforms, you're going to find one platform performs better than the other. So I can't wait to actually see how the Series X stuff runs. We've been talking about it for months now about with the stuff they're doing behind the scenes. It's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it is.
With the FPS boost, the resolution boost, and I think a lot of that has been in the back of their heads for the cloud. Because as we know, when you're cloud gaming, 30 FPS is what it stands out like a sore thumb, and it makes games feel choppy, feels really not quite right. So getting games 60 FPS for the cloud is what you need, and that's what Xbox is doing.
It's definitely what you need. We can't have you feeling sick every time you're trying a game, can we?
No, it is. Some of the games just stand out. I don't want to say which games. I think people know what game it was, or I've said many times what game it was and what platform, but I don't want to harp on about that. But it was really quite nauseating, the feeling when you're jumping between 60 FPS to 30 FPS. It's bad at the best times, but on cloud, it's just awful. But this news, there's some intriguing stuff there. For me, it rings off regional pricing, which is going to become really important for when they go into the emerging markets as well. So they're going to probably reduce the price to get into these massive areas and try and get as many of them gaming as possible. So they'll probably go for the volume approach, or they're going to make it cheaper, but they're going to get more people playing it to make up the sort of difference.
Yeah, definitely. And that's right. And when you touch on countries, of course, as part of that announcement yesterday, it came that they're expanding into Mexico, Japan, Brazil. Is it Switzerland? No? I don't know where did Switzerland come from? I don't know.
Australia.
Australia, that's the one.
It's the Aussies.
Other side of the world, but hey.
Yeah. I'm going to point out too here, Australia and Brazil. I think Brazil is a massive, massive key market. We've been talking about this. No matter what the cloud platform is, Brazil is a market that they're going to try and get into. And now we know that two of them are going to be pushing out there this year, and GFN and xCloud are going into Brazil.
Yes.
And the Australia one and the Brazil one is interesting as well for the Brazil one for the streaming stick, because the consoles are really, really expensive out there. And the Australia one, it's more for the subscription because games cost a lot more money out there.
Yep.
So I think they're being very clever with their markets. And Japan is going to be a big key market for Microsoft going forward. We've been saying this, or people have been saying this since the original Xbox launch. They are trying to break into Japan, and this could be a easier way for them to do that. They get a couple of key games again onto that service, which will tempt people to try it, and it's a snowball effect.
Yeah, definitely. And they've obviously the console's rolled out in China now, hasn't it, in the last couple of weeks, and it's also seems to be selling out in Korea as well. So they're certainly edging towards kind of hopefully capturing a good bit of kind of market share, in that part of the world. And I think I've seen a comment that Maker was made. He had a feeling they've been producing both hardware for consumers and saving some for xCloud. I agree. I think they've taken that approach of Microsoft is the first customer of the production line. I think whilst obviously everything's kind of been based on getting the consoles into gamers' hands and getting it into all the people's hands that are kind of relevant and can kind of promote it and get it out there. They've also still kind of said, well, actually, hang on, we're still a kind of almost a customer of this process, in making sure that they can then kind of roll out and put gamers, more in control of gaming and get the cloud service up and rolling.
Yeah, I think that is one of the reasons why the Series X has been so hard to buy, and that's why they're so behind in the numbers, because we do know as soon as the Series X comes in, it goes out again. they have definitely been just chucking them into the data centers out there just to start building all that up there. Ruben, yeah, India is the perfect storm for every one of these cloud gamer or cloud platforms out there. That is what they are going to be pushing for. There's two things I want to just touch on. I know we're trying to be quick with this with the xCloud sort of news. Stadia Nadella, said it right. Stadia Nadella is 100% on board with gaming, and they came out and he said, we are backing this to the hilt, basically. We are all in. We can just see how this is going to expand around the world. We're trying to bring everybody on board. And he was wearing the Halo wee hoodie as well when he was saying that. And he had his Xbox behind the scenes, because we know we're all looking at the Xbox. Anybody from Xbox, you're looking behind the scenes for any of the sort of hints. So he was wearing that. And him and Phil Spencer came out and gave that bit of speech. Following on to that, this is in some of the other reports, is they are going to be buying more studios for their exclusive games for Game Pass. And what they're aiming for is one of their first-party games coming out every quarter, which is pretty big.
It is, isn't it? I mean, if you think about that, just the fact that they'd be able to drop something out from a first-party studio every quarter is, it's an enormous kind of thought. And obviously they'll vary in kind of genre, size, scale, all those different sorts of kind of elements from games. But just to be able to be in a position to confidently say that's what we're going to deliver tells you that they've 100% got their strategy in place, and they're fixed on it, and they know what they're working to.
Exactly. What I will always caution with, and this is the same for anybody, is just because you've got the studios doesn't mean the games are going to be good games. It has taken Sony and PlayStation a number of years to get up to the standard where they are now. For me, I think Microsoft are a bit like where PlayStation were with the PlayStation 3, where there's some absolutely cracking games, but there was some misses as well. And I'm hoping this generation you're going to get up to PlayStation of last generation sort of standards, where you now know if a game comes out with PlayStation on it, you know what you're expecting, and you're going to get a pretty good game, just like Nintendo. I think this is the next step for Microsoft now, is they're giving them all the tools necessary to make these games absolutely great. It's now they just have to follow through. And I have a horrible feeling we're not going to see a lot of these efforts for another 2 years, or one or 2 years. I don't think we're going to see much of it this year, even with Kelly's going to hit me when I say this here. Even with Halo coming out this year, I think Halo is Halo, Forza is Forza. We know what we're going to be getting with them. It is what we're going to get with Senua's,
Oh yeah, the Hellblade.
Hellblade. I was saying the second Hellblade 2. Will that make the step up in quality? Will the zombie game State of Decay have that step up in quality to where instead of being a Metacritic game of about a 70, it goes up to the high 80s sort of level? I think that is where Xbox its issues are, that they've got everything out in front of them, but they just need to fulfill the potential now.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good way to put it. It kind of does feel like it's almost I guess it feels a little bit like they're relaying the foundation blocks for what's to come. And kind of, as you say, the proof is going to be in the pudding. Can they resonate with those things that they deliver? Not just in game wise, but can they continue to kind of innovate and deliver in a feature perspective as well? Because that's, all of these things are always kind of moving rapidly. Anything that adds to our gaming experience, whether it be accessories, features, whatever it is, they need to kind of keep innovating in those areas as well.
Yeah, exactly. And again, one of the features what they're actually going to be bringing is something which is available on PlayStation. You have to say the fair play to PlayStation for this one. It's a feature which isn't actually talked about, but it is coming to Game Pass this year. Is you can start downloading your game and you can start playing it at the same time. Again, Microsoft are going for this hybrid sort of model, which is very, very interesting. And I said it and was ridiculed when I said it last year that the Series S is going to be the box to get people into cloud gaming, and I am sticking by that. And I can see the Series S being the box where people are just going to just sit and do a hell of a lot of cloud gaming because the storage isn't as great, but it's still got the 4K. We haven't heard about 4K yet, but they can output in 4K and things like that. I think we're going to see that become a massive streaming box going forward.
Yeah, definitely. It is. I think it was easily identifiable, especially the price point that it landed. It was easily identifiable as a hybrid device. And particularly, I think in the UK as well, you can pick one up now if you've got a PS4 or you're trading something in, you can pick it up for £100 now.
If you've got a PlayStation 4 Pro or an Xbox One X, you can get it for £40.
Bloody hell.
Yes, you can get it for £40 if you trade in a PlayStation 4 Pro or a Xbox One X. So that is something to have a think about if you've got that, even at the £100 mark. We're going to be touching on the Stadia. Stadia's got a great deal on at the moment as well. But this is the sort of thing which is going on here. It is just really, really competitive out there in the gaming market, and Microsoft are making all the right moves. It's exclusive. PlayStation are doing the same. We've seen the announcements last night. There was a couple of exclusive games. They've got that new studio from the Call of Duty, ex-Call of Duty devs.
Yes.
And that's going to be a multiplayer focused game. And something came to my attention here today, so shout out to the person who brought it to my attention. They have got 100 devs at this moment in time. You think it's a really small. They are getting back to the hilt here to bring these games. This is what I want to see going forward. I do not mind that sort of exclusive where PlayStation are obviously funding them to build the game, just like they're doing with Jade Raymond's studio and the other studios which they've done as well. I think that actually improves gaming out there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're guys that have clearly put a lot of work, a lot of graft in the industry. They've got to a point where they've kind of consistently put out, a really good standard of work, which have been kind of successful. So to be in a position where they can kind of obviously start on their own journey in that sense, and then kind of obviously fall under the PlayStation Studios banner and have that backing from day one, gives them a tremendous amount of security, and I think as we seen them kind of say yesterday, they kind of feel like they've got a real creative freedom about them to be able to kind of deliver something as well.
Yeah. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for joining. Hi, Lord Gamer Man as well. Thank you for joining. Yeah, and it's really, really exciting. Xbox is exciting. PlayStation is exciting. Nintendo's always wacky and exciting because you just don't know what they're going to do. Gaming is just brilliant. I just love gaming in general.
Absolutely. It's an all year round thing, but at this particular time of the year, there is an absolute buzz, whether you're sitting chatting with your kind of mates, whether you're kind of scrolling through Twitter, kind of trying to keep tabs on news, conferences, whatever's happening. Everything has got that little hustle and bustle, the buzz about it, and you kind of, you're just bobbing through each day going, what am I going to find out today? What are they going to drop? What do I need to save for? What am I going to get to experience next?
Yeah. And again, just because there's so much going on, we cannot cover all that because there's actually a press conference. I shouldn't be saying this, sure, I shouldn't. Duncan, you're going to put people away. But yes, there's a press conference going on now as well. again, there's just so much on. We've just had to pick and choose what we're wanting to or not wanting. Think we should cover because there is just so much.
I think there is, and I think we've in terms of our schedule for kind of covering stuff through E3 and Summer Game Fest, we've tried to basically kind of pick up the ones that you kind of have to pick up. It goes without saying you kind of have to pick them up, but then we've also tried to look at the ones that are kind of standing a reasonable shout of maybe kind of being somewhat kind of where cloud maybe gets mentioned as well.
Yes, indeed. I'm just double checking. We know what games are going to be on this other one, and I'm pretty I'm going to scrub myself here. I'm pretty sure one of the games is going to Cloud, I think, or was it? No, it was 12 Hours was going to was on GFM, wasn't
it? Yes, I think it is, isn't it?
And 12 minutes. The games being featured are Harold Halibut. Kenna Bridge of Spirits was a PlayStation game. Lost in Random, which is an EA game. I think I know who. I am saying nothing. Noroko, Sable, which is published by Raw Fury. Signalis, The Big Con, and as I said, 12 minutes. So that is the games going on there. I've probably put about 1 million trillion people of our people watching here are going to go over and watch that now, but that's the games being featured today. I'm always stupid like that.
We're all good. Don't be daft. People do not want to miss the Cloudy Roundup on a Friday night.
Yeah. 12 minutes is going to Game Pass. That's why I was sort of knew that name was sort of for me. Thanks, Maker, for that. So shall we move on, because we are trying to keep this to under an hour. Where's Ruben? Get your clock going there, Ruben.
Okay. We've got one or two ways that we can go. So
both have got a fair bit to talk about. Or one's got more to talk about, but one we know. We always talk about one more than the other. But
have you got a preference for the next one?
No. So hey, GFN. Up until yesterday, I think they have been the best cloud service of the year to date by an absolute mile. It all depends how Microsoft actually implement the Series X blades and things like that. But I think GFN have been doing absolutely amazing work out there. And this update yesterday, I know it got completely utterly overshadowed by the Xbox news yesterday. And I don't think it really. Yes, I can understand what completely was, but I think people may have missed out on it. Because it was pretty decent.
Yeah, I would agree, because I think obviously we follow it, but around about the time that it hit, we were kind of in that mode of the Xbox news that we'd just kind of gone through. So it is entirely conceivable that people would have missed it for the week. So we had a total of 13 games arriving on the service this week. Of which 2 were day and date. So the first of which was Chivalry 2, which we are in the coming days going to be having a first look up on the Cloudy channel at some point when we can squeeze it in between everything else. And then I'm just trying to actually bring the list up now. I've done a U. I didn't have the list ready, Duncan.
Yeah, I'll let you give you the games and I will talk about the other stuff. If you do not know, you can actually try out GFN this weekend, the full priority pass. If you have been just a free user, if you sign up to GFN this weekend, you can get to play up for 3 days. And coincidentally, Control is free on the Epic Game Store. So if you go and claim Control, you can play with it. You can play it on GFN with ray tracing this weekend for free. double free there, so you can play it for free on GFN with full things, and you get the game for free. I don't think you can say no to that at all.
Absolutely. You 100% cannot say no to that in the slightest, can you?
Yeah, GFN is... This is something we touched on this on our GFN show. This is something we've been actually calling for them to do, because I've said it, and I think you're in agreement with it as well. They are doing themselves nearly a disservice with the free service, because people can't actually get onto the proper the good stuff, as you may say, the platform where it's meant to be. You're meant to experience it with no queues. Again, the only queues I have had queues in GFN, and the only time I had a queue was for Cyberpunk. And since Cyberpunk, that has went away. And then you get to see how good the platform actually plays, and why it sort of justifies it's £9 a month, $10 a month. But you make up on that if you buy a lot of games. Even if you don't want to buy games, you've got access to nearly the guts of 100 free-to-play games, and they have been stuck in demos and stuff on now, which you can play as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with the nature of the fact that they've got that open ecosystem in terms of the Epic Games Store storefront, GOG, Steam, of course, they're also kind of touching 1,000 games that are available to be played in the cloud. So when you kind of look at that, and in the fact that 10% of their library are free to play titles, there's been another one which we'll come on to in a second, which has been added in as a free to play game this week as well. So it is something that they're bringing in balance in terms of they're hitting those day and date releases for some really good gets, but then they're bringing consistent expansion to the library, and then they're kind of obviously padding that out as well with free to play, which of course is really, really important.
Yeah, indeed. And we have if you're a cloud gamer, Ubisoft are all over cloud gaming, and if you've got your Ubisoft Connect or Ubisoft Plus, you can play it on GFN, and some of the games on GFN, you've got your ray tracing in them as well, in the Ubisoft games like Watch Dogs, Legion. So again, this is why I love cloud gaming, because you can jump between all the different platforms. It is going to become a buffet service. You're going to subscribe to one for 1 month, then move on to another one, or you might just stick with one because you really like the games, because of all the exclusive games and things like that. This is the times we're living in here. I think GFN are in a real good position at this moment in time, with the amount of games they are bringing onto the service, and they have their niche. We've been talking about I think they're trying to extend their niche slightly, while trying to bring players in who maybe want to experience PC games on top of the actual PC game audience. I think they are in a real strong and great position. They are just bringing these games hand over fist, and we're struggling to keep up with it on the show here, because every time we do one of our here's all the games coming, we want that game, we want that game, we want that game.
We're regularly adding to the wish list or purchasing live when we're kind of doing some of these ones on the Thursday.
They are as Ruben has said here, they are the perfect complementary service out there. They have got their position set there, and before we go on to the games, they will have an E3 presence. This may have skipped people by. They are going to be at the PC gaming show on Sunday night, and I think we are covering that show now because GFN are going to be there. So I forgot to book myself off work on Monday, so I need to maybe do that. But yes, that's going to be a fun one, because PC gaming is really exciting. And we are seeing so many games coming to PC, and you just know deep down that many of these games are going to be going to GFN. Let's be frank, it'd be nice to see some GFN logos on these games.
Yeah, it really would. And I think we did touch on that last night. You kind of did say that in that respect, they did need to kind of maybe up the game a little bit on that front and kind of getting the logo out there. But I think we also said the fact that a lot of those games that were shown last night for PC were showing kind of Epic and Steam. And as we know, because of that kind of open ethos that they've got, it kind of stands a real chance of a lot of those games being able to, to be brought onto the service. Just going to bring my screen up now.
As long as it's just your screen.
Yeah, don't you worry. It's just the screen.
Oh, dear. Again, blog post here by GFM. If you want to hear a bit more color towards it, you can go on to Cloudy as well, and Ben does that as well. And by the way, I'm not getting it because I normally bring up the GFM one because it's nice and flat there as well. You forgot about that. The contest is going on. So a free-to-play game on GFN in Apex Legends. If you go and get some of your kills or things like that, if you upload them because it automatically clips it, you can win a stack of prizes. It is absolutely amazing. I love this feature. It knows when you've done something. So if you kill someone, it automatically records it. I do have I want it extended, so we get like a GFN account on the web, and it uploads to the cloud, just making use of that a bit more, and then you can just share it out. But this is the sort of stuff GFN are pushing, and I don't think they're getting the credit they deserve, basically, out there for a lot of this stuff. And yesterday, I think the GFN Legends website actually crashed for a bit because so many people were actually looking to put onto it. So it's pretty cool. And look at the stuff you can actually win here in Nvidia Shield TV. No comment. A Razer Kishi keyboard, mouse from Logitech Razer, gaming headsets, a Pixelbook, iPads, a MacBook Pros, and Apex coins for absolutely brilliant. And it runs through to the 24th of June. So go out there and play that. If you're big into Apex Legends, just go and do that.
Yes, indeed. If I scroll down to our editions for the week, so obviously we mentioned Chivalry 2. The other day and date was Guilty Gear Strive, which obviously, how could I forget that that's what it was? Because we only went through it like a day ago. Then obviously we had a Medieval, Beyond Good and Evil, Morbid, The Seven Acolytes, Neptunia, Virtual Stars, Not the Robots, Quest Hunter, Sabotage, which was the other free-to-play game, which was from the Turkish developer, so that is only available in Europe, but looks like a pretty cool FPS. Then we've got Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Lockdown, Townsman, A Kingdom Rebuilt, and then Vikings, Wolves of Midgard.
Yeah, and just to add into this, if you have got a Medieval on Steam, that has been added to ray tracing as well, which is, it's good to see that these continue to get added to down the line. I think I put one on my wish list, didn't I? I put two on my wish list, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I can't even remember which it was. My head is like I said, because there's just so much gaming news at the moment.
I think, didn't you put Guilty Gear Strive on your wish list?
No, I didn't put Guilty Gear Strive on. I did not. That was the 2D game, the fighting game.
Yes, yeah.
It might have been a Medieval, and was it not the robots? I think it might have been that. But I've got them on my wish list, and I'm looking forward to doing that because it looks like it's been put back a week or two because we do have something planned for GFN coming in the next week or two, but we're just waiting for something to happen first.
So we are. We need a particular thing to happen, and then the Cloudy special gears will kick into action, and there'll be something exciting to bring everybody.
Yes, it's going to be a mix between live and recorded, I think. But I think we did say that, didn't we?
I think we did, yeah.
Yes, it's going to be a mix between live and recorded. It's going to be a bit of fun, and we hope you guys can join us as well and help us with it, or maybe take part. But again, it is a good mix of games there. One thing which I am passionate about, and I maybe get made fun of, I do get made fun of this. I like the old games coming as well. And there's a couple of old games in there, like the Rainbow Six game was a old game. Bringing that back, new audiences, playing it again, enhancing the specs of it, absolutely brilliant. And again, they are bringing games day and date. They're bringing interesting games day and date, games which you think are I'm not going to say big, massive AAA sort of games, but the Chivalry is a real good get, along with Biomutant, and then they had the Sniper game as well. They're getting these sort of mid-range sort of games day and date, the games where people are talking about at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. They're kind of they're putting them in a position where they're kind of they're doing a little bit of snatch and grab, and then they're kind of putting themselves into a place where they're kind of remaining relevant and into people's domain, which I think was why you were a little bit critical last night that we maybe didn't see any GFN logos, but kind of hopefully that may well change on Sunday night.
Yes, I'm hoping it will change on Sunday night. What I'm hoping, I hope we get like a Game Pass sort of thing from Xbox on Sunday night. Or, if you remember the last Xbox conference, every single one of these games are going to Game Pass. That's what I'm hoping for at the PC Gamer Show. Every single one of these games is going to GFN. That is what I'm really hoping for. And I think that would be a real cool moment and completely push GFN away up there.
Awesome. Perfect. I think, right, we've got 13 and a half minutes to go. So we've got one topic left to cover, which is...
Oh, dear. Stadia.
Yes.
I'm going to plug something here before we start this off, because I'm going to point to it shortly as well. Or going to talk about it. I have a vote running at this moment in time before we recap the news, and it is so far this week. How confident are you in Stadia moving forward? And to say that the poll is split down the middle is not doing justice. I'm going to make okay. We need the banner. We need the banner.
Hang on. I'm getting there. You ready?
Yep.
Go.
Joke alert. And it's a political joke. It's a bit like Brexit at the moment. It is that sort of close. We're in the low 50s splitting it. It is 40. Sorry, I'm trying to work it out here. 47-53 split. Is how confident people are, and people are more confident, the 53 being more confident than having some concerns about Stadia. So go check out my Twitter. You probably know it, or it's infamous out there. It's got 145 votes, so I think it's a relative for me anyway. On my Twitter, that's a relatively. It's a reasonable sample. I'm not saying it's a brilliant, massive sample, but I think it's a reasonable sample because most people, I think, who follow me follow cloud gaming sort of stuff. So go check that out, and we'll come back to that results at the end after we recap the news. So we will start off with the good news. But the problem with Stadia this week is they've had good news, but what's overshadowing Stadia is the no news. If that makes a bit of sense. They've had some good news, and they've got a partnership with AT&T where they are, if you subscribe to things there, you get 6 months of Stadia Pro, which is absolutely big for the people in the States. I think it's being slightly overblown how big that offer is and how good that is, because we've had similar offers over here in Europe. And for Stadia, we also have that offer in Europe for 6 months of Game Pass as well. for Xbox with the mobile providers as well. So I think, yes, it is brilliant news, but I think it's maybe being slightly over milked out there. We have had Moonlighter, which I predicted as a Stadia Pro game, by the way, coming. I think we're talking relatively soon for that. We also got an announcement of 2 other games, as a re-announcement of a game which has completely slipped my memory. It looks pretty...
Gone out of my head.
It looked interesting. I'm not going to say it was put up, then it was taken off again, and it's
Grime.
Yes. We had Grime again. I think it's not been if this was any other week, if this was 2 or 3 weeks ago, this would have been a cracking sort of, not a cracking, maybe 2. It would have been a very, very good week for Stadia. But because of the week, it's just being completely and utterly overshadowed. Stadia has not done anything wrong this week, in my view, from putting information out there.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying when you say that, because they technically, you are right, and it's a fair thing to say that they haven't done anything wrong as such. I think it's they've obviously brought feature updates, they've bought a promo, they've confirmed a game. If you look at that, it's an offer to bring more people in, features to kind of enhance those that have maybe already got it, and obviously to attract maybe new players, and then kind of another game added into the library. I think when you look at it in that fashion, 100%, it is not a bad week by any stretch of the imagination. But I think given the nature of the week and the season that we're in, it's very kind of difficult to. I think it's difficult for any. Or not necessarily any, but it's particularly when the big boys come to town for these parties to kind of pull out all the stops, and they've got these cinematic this and cinematic that, and this is going straight to Game Pass, this is going to PS Plus, this is going to be exclusive. It kind of certainly does. It's kind of just takes it puts a shadow over it, doesn't it, because of the enormity of the rest of the news because of the season. That's just a natural effect of the week, I think.
Yeah, and I think they made a big mistake last night. Not because of what they said. It's the timing of it. The Grime announcement was put out when we were watching about the Elder Ring and Borderlands and all these other big massive games coming, and everybody is getting hyped about all this happening, and the wider gaming audience is getting hyped up about all these games coming, and Stadia with no logos at the Summer Game Fest, which is absolutely massive. The amount of people watching that was astonishing, and Stadia not getting a mention. I just think optically it was really bad, and I think it was a poor. It was just really poor.
Yep. Shall we bring up the obviously the Stadia with Android TV announcement?
Yep.
So I think that's a good. A good area to focus on. I'm just going to I'll bring it back up and kind of share my screen I'm pretty sure everybody's seen this anyway, but hey, you never know. So
no, Anthony, the problem is it isn't that. Was I expecting Stadia to be mentioned at Summer Game Fest? I was hoping they would be mentioned, especially with Wavebreak.
Yeah,
I don't think we really want to go down really negative sort of Stadia territory, but I think it's been a struggling sort of. I think a lot of people's wind has been taken out from the sails, but we'll go on to the Android TV announcement, which is absolutely brilliant news as well.
Yep, absolutely. So obviously they, as it says in here, the Nest blog post confirmed that the first version of the Stadia app is coming into Google TV on June 23rd. But also following that, it's going to be coming to other Android TV devices on the 23rd as well. So if we scroll down, we've got obviously Google Chromecast, Chromecast with Google TV, the Hisense Android smart TVs, so the U7, 8, and 9 generations, NVIDIA Shield TV and NVIDIA Shield TV Pro on Full HD streaming stick and the UHD one, the couple of Philips Android TV devices, and the Xiaomi, I think it is. I never know how to say it, but there we go. So kind of they're going to be available on there from the 23rd. And then obviously for Android TV devices that are not on the list, what they are going to be able to do is they're going to be able to launch it from their existing apps. And then when they kind of go into the opt-in screen, they're going to be able to kind of do it in experimental mode so that they can kind of still test it out and kind of see how it's going.
Yeah, and the really interesting one here is the Walmart one, which is like $25.
Yes,
which is going to do that, which is absolutely class as well. So people can just jump in and start playing that there. And so I have to go back to this, Anthony. If you're going into major game sort of places or festivals, this is a game festival, this is E3, and you're going in with no expectations of any Stadia logos, that is not healthy. You should have reasonable sort of expectations for Stadia, and Stadia really should have had some sort of mention just to get name out there. Even if it was a small game announcement, that would have been better than no announcement, just to get the name out there with the number of eyeballs there. That is where I would that's where I completely and utterly disagree. And the Wave Break one actually shocked me, not even mentioning Stadia. As we know, that is on Stadia, and since it is, that has actually launched today on Steam and Switch, it was the number one most wanted game coming to Steam today. So
yeah. I've seen that because they were pushing that on their Twitter. They were exceedingly chuffed about that, weren't they?
Yeah, so absolutely congratulations, and a bit of PR marketing can really go far. So that's where I am. The reason why people go in with no expectations of Stadia at these events is because we have been what's the word I'm looking for?
Conditioned, yes. To go in with no expectations, and that's not a good position to be in if you're a paid for service. So I don't really want to go really too deep into Stadia here, but with that, I'm going to say this: my concerns out there seem to be founded here, because that poll is just showing you how close things are. There is a lot of concern out there. Indeed. And I think it might be worth just mentioning, because I'm not sure whether Anthony would have caught the point in the show where we kind of spoke about it. We kind of said very similar for GeForce Now, even though we know they've got obviously presence on Sunday night in some fashion. We did kind of say, and you were critical last night on the stream and said, they need to up their game. It would have been really good to see the GeForce Now logo on kind of some of these games that are coming to PC.
Yep, indeed. But I think Stadia is still in the period of readjusting. This is part of the readjusting. We're going to see how that is all going to fare out in the coming weeks and months. But I think if they could have, I think this should have came last week. I just think it would have maybe resonated a bit more last week.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I 100%. I know what you mean. I think because of the enormity of the week, as we say, if there wasn't going to be presence, then yeah, a lot of these announcements would have kind of led to a bit of a bumper week last week, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I'm just going to go over the Moonlighter. If if you have not played Moonlighter, it is a good roguelike. You are a shopkeeper. It's like a reverse sort of one. You're an actual shopkeeper this time. And it is fun. It's a fun little game. I hope it's a Stadia Pro game rather than a paid for game, because I think I would have maybe got some more people playing it. But it's been, from a pure, if you just look at Stadia in the eyes of Stadia, and that is all you look at, you do not look at the wider picture, you're just 100% focused on Stadia, it has been a good week for Stadia, or a very good week, depends on how you view the AT&T news. That's what I will say. We'll end on the positive. If you live in, that's all you see is Stadia stuff. It has been a good week for Stadia.
Absolutely, they've contributed to. I think they've contributed in part to a good week for cloud gaming, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm just going to have to bring this up. I said 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I think it was on one of these shows, if Stadia has something to show, they should show it before E3, the E3 week, not during. I did say that. I am on record. If you want to go get your receipts, Anthony, you can go get your receipts, because I have said that. So,
no worries.
Yeah.
Are you going to respond to the Luna bit as well, just while we're there? Because I think we touched on that earlier as well.
Anthony, Luna is a completely and utterly different kettle of fish. You're not expecting games day and date because it's a subscription service. Any day games will come day and date onto Luna. You are expecting this, and as these are new games, you're not expecting these to go onto Luna. But Amazon have got a first-party studio, which are pumping out 2 games this year, and they've also got 2 games in development. One from a big MMORPG guy, and the other one is from the Rainbow Six guys.
There we go. Perfect. So I think, as we have been warned by our resident timekeeper, that we have hit the 1 hour mark, and we have now obviously gone through each of the categories. In terms of the week in cloud gaming, happy with given the fact that we are kind of, I know it's obviously, we've still got more to come, across the weekend. But in terms of some of the announcements that have come out this week in the kind of the wide, if we look at cloud gaming in general, I think it's been a positive week. And I think, how would you, in terms of, if we were to rate this week so far for cloud gaming, what would your rating be?
See, here's the thing. If you're talking about cloud gaming as a whole, the whole ecosystem, as in I think it's been a 10 out of 10 week for cloud gaming. If you break it down into all the different platforms, it gets a bit murky, which I don't want to go down. We're going to end this in part. This has been a absolutely brilliant week for cloud gaming, because everybody is doing stuff. So, and I think it's going to get even crazier on Sunday with both the shows. Again, I'm just going to put this out here. I am not expecting earth-shattering announcements from GFN on Sunday night. I'm just expecting them to be mentioned and maybe talked about a bit. I am not expecting anything massive, but I am expecting a bit from the Xbox conference.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just to kind of give mine, I'd give it an 8 out of 10 for this week. And I'm going to deduct 2 points purely because Luna are not in the UK. And that's enough said.
Okay, then. I was going in the whole thing. I'm being a positive one.
No, absolutely. No, as I say, across the playing field, it was a really, really good week for cloud gaming. I'm just going to kind of deduct those couple of points for that one particular area.
Yeah, so it's real fun. And cloud is moving, and every week is something different, because we've got so many we've got so many people stalking out there and still haven't really made their move. Amazon still haven't really made their move. Stadia is still regrouping out there and seeing what they're going to do. Tencent is stalking with intent, and Apple, I'm not reeling Apple out there because they are making big moves in the cloud space as a whole. And we also have the new elephant in the room of PlayStation now.
Indeed.
Mhm.
Perfect. Well, I think this kind of leaves us at a particular point where Ruben's deducted 2 points off my hashtag. I don't think there was any need for that, frankly. But hey, I'll let you off. No, I think that brings us to a natural conclusion for this week's Cloud Gaming News. Don't forget, we are back in
15 minutes.
20 minutes. So you better go and eat your dinner really quickly. So obviously all that's left to say is thank you very much for joining us as we kind of recap the news. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we will see you again in about 20 minutes.
Yep.
Bye. Say bye, Duncan.
Bye, Duncan.